Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now some games have the option to completely disable shadows from within their respective graphical options menus, and I never really appreciated just how much of a difference doing so can make in terms of performance changes. Fallout New Vegas, for example, sees gains of 10 FPS or more in some areas, even when using an ancient low-end graphics card. The game doesn't even look too different than it does with the lowest shadow settings enabled. Other titles make changing shadow-related settings a little more complicated, but taking some time to explore hidden files of specific titles might just save your graphics card from taking prime position in the bin. Grand Theft Auto 5 pushes my puny HD 6450 to its limit, even with 800 by 600 resolution and the normal settings. Maintaining 30 FPS plus is a challenge. I said at the beginning that I didn't appreciate how much of a performance difference disabling shadows can make, but I also can't quite believe how much of a visual change we see too. Setting the shadow quality value to 0 from within the game's .ini file makes GTA look like an early Xbox 360 title or a cartoon. It's the detail that we lose on the trees for me, I think, that makes the biggest difference. Having said that though, we've gone from averaging 30 FPS, just about, to almost 40 with the DDR3 6450. There are still some big drops here and there, and the cars now look like they're floating when driven, but it's a small price to pay if you have a weaker computer and you've turned things down as low as they'll go from within the settings menu. I think a lot of developers don't offer the option to disable shadows completely, as they can't bear to see years of graphical refinement destroyed at the change of a number. Switching to 720p is still a bit of a stretch for our aging card, but it's not a bad effort I suppose, and it doesn't feel too bad to play at around 23 or 24 frames per second. For my next trick, I fired up Cyberpunk 2077 with the Athlon 3000G. This footage was taken prior to the 1.3 update that started downloading literally after I was done making this video. Outside of Night City, 30 frames per second is just about achievable, providing you don't mind 50% of 720p resolution, which most people absolutely do mind. This is however your best bet for achieving high frame rates with low-end hardware. Dealing with these pesky shadows isn't quite as simple as it is with GTA, nor is it as effective. Copying the following commands into the general.ini file within the game's installation directory means that shadows sort of pop in as we move along. This makes the lighting of some areas appear a little different, to say the least. And while our frame rate doesn't benefit significantly from this tweak, it does remain more stable as we approach busier areas of the highway, for example. In an ideal world, every game would have simple options to disable shadows completely, as it's one of those things that can really help improve a low frame rate, even if it does completely change the look and artistic direction of some games. It's always worth digging around the config files too, because you never know what sort of lighting related options can be uncovered. Options that might just turn your unplayable game into a playable one. Sort of, depending on the hardware you're using in the first place. That about does it for this video. I thought we'd take a look at the effects disabling shadows can have in some titles, and it's always worth exploring whether or not certain games offer these options to you, or whether or not they can be found within the game's deeper INI settings. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.